Hello friends, welcome to the Brainwaves Chess Club. In the series of Attacking the King, today we are focusing on the fundamentals of castle on the opposite side. As we know, whenever the castle is done on the opposite side, the battle is to reach the opponent's king first, and with this object, both the sides look for speedy development, and with the help of pawn storm method, both the players will look to disrupt opponent's king side castle. To start with this theme, we have selected a game of the legendary world chess champion Grandmaster Anatoly Karpov from the 1986 Dubai Chess Olympiad, and his opponent, Polish international master Alexander Snapik, was also one of the top players of that time. So let's get started. Today we are starting with the dragon variation of Sicilian defense. This is one of the topical theoretical positions in the Rauser variation named after the Soviet master. He suggested a sharp plan involving castling long and obviously launching a pawn storm on the king side. In this position, in order to stop White's g4 idea, few moves earlier Black had played h5, and we can see g4 is very adequately defended by the knight on f6, knight on e5, and the bishop on d7. So the question is, how to destruct Black's pawn cover? Is it possible to play g4 directly, or we should go with early ideas of bishop h6? Your time starts now. You may pause the video and think on your own first. The world champion Anatoly Karpov started with g4. Now it's obvious for Black to take h into g4, and there came destruction of the Black's pawn's cover with h5. This move forces Black to either capture on h5 or allow us to capture on g6. At the same time, we may threaten h6 pawn push. So Black decided to take knight takes h5, and here there was an intermezzo. I'm sure you all thought of direct sacrifice, rook into knight, but here the world chess champion keeps some patience and he plays knight d5. Now this comes up with one more threat on e7 square here, and so Black replied with re8, and now there came the most awaited destruction sacrifice, rook into knight. So the fourth move was this. Now another important move, how to proceed with our initiatives. One more time, a big question is asked. Should White play bishop h6 to trade the bishop here on g7 so that he'll get entry in the Black's castle area, or is there something so special? Anatoly Karpov avoided bishop h6 and he looked for two weaknesses on light squares f7 and h5, and in the game he went with queen h2. Now here we can see the route he wants to take with h5, there comes f7. At the same time, you know that the whole h file is targeted by White. So Black understood the threats on light squares and especially on this bishop's diagonal, and hence he offered a counter exchange sacrifice with rook c4. Now we can notice that there is a direct threat rook into d4 knight, and hence White decided to take bishop into rook, pawn into rook, and in the game Anatoly Karpov played queen takes, pawn on h5. Instead of rook c4, was it possible for Black to play g into f3? Here White could continue with queen takes h5, and in case of bishop g4, it looks good because of the discovered attack on this rook. There comes a tricky queen h4 coming up with one more counter idea on e7. This will surely win time for White to attack along the g line at the same time on the h line. As we know, Sicilian defense always offers counterattacks to both the sides. The winning side obviously looks for attacks, and the defending side comes up with a new counterattack. So here Black tried for some counterattacks with f6. At the same time, he wants to make some space for the king in case the attack comes along the h line. This was the most critical position, and White, instead of playing bishop h6 or bishop e3, he brought an intermezzo with f4. Let's think on this. In case Black decides to take pawn into bishop, White could take this, and after pawn takes pawn, as I got in the notes of this game, Anatoly Karpov had planned knight f5, and you can notice that in case of bishop into, there can be pawn into, threatening knight f6 check. International master went with knight f7. And here again we have to think what to do of the bishop. So yes, now being this h6 controlled twice, it's forced to play bishop h4. And after bishop h4, again black has to look for some counter attacks, and he went with queen b8. We know the basics of attacking the king when castle is done on the opposite side. The race is to reach the opponent's king first, and in view of that, Anatoly Karpov sir one more time played rook h1. Now we can notice the threads on the h file. One more time, Polish master wanted to create counter attacks c3, and now instead of taking pawn on c3, white plays b3. After this, black again tries queen b7. There can be two ideas. One is to bring queen a6 for the mating ideas. At the same time, there can be some defense created on the 7th rank, but it's almost plus by minus in favor of white. White brought in the pawn in attacks f5. White brings in pawn to support e6 to outpost knight on e6, and knight can assist for checkmate on g7 with queen g6. In view of some future threats, again black tried his best to bring in knight e5, and there came knight e6, the last move of the game. Here the Polish master resigned after 27th move. The first threat white gives is queen g6. At the same time, bishop into f6 will come at the right time. Let's see, in case he takes bishop into knight, you pick up the rook with check, and followed by checkmate with bishop into f6. In case of any random move like a6, white will simply continue with bishop into f6. And in case of bishop into f6, there comes a simple check and mate. In case of e into f6, white will simply continue with knight into f6, winning rook on e8. Let's see, if he moves bishop into, then we can checkmate with queen into h7.